Good morning. It's Deacon Don again. And today, when I'm filming this, it's January 24th, 2022, but I think it may not be posted until tomorrow, the 25th. So just keep that in mind when I start talking about the dates today. My reflection is going to be just a little bit different than what I normally give you. The reason is there is so much value in the scriptures today. So much to talk about. It's so rich in scripture and in history and how it applies to us that it's difficult to be able to encapsulate what I want to say to you in just a few minutes. So I have to narrow it down, and to do it justice, I could probably speak for hours about what I want to say, but I won't, so don't worry. So forgive me for sort of bringing it down to a few minutes, and I'll probably leave some things out because of it. Let's get to the scripture part first. Today's gospel is from Mark chapter 3, verse 22 to 30. And there is an awful lot in it. So let me just read you a portion. The scribes who had come from Jerusalem said of Jesus, "He is possessed by Beelzebub, and by the prince of demons he drives out demons." Summoning them, he began to speak to them in parables. And he said, "How can Satan drive out Satan? If a kingdom is divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. If a house is divided against itself, that house will not be able to stand. And if Satan has risen up against himself and is divided, he cannot stand. That is the end of him." There's more in that gospel, and you might want to read it. But for now, we'll leave it at that. You see, of course, Jesus is instructing them to understand who he is and who he is not. These scribes accused him of being a demon. Their thinking is, after all, if who else could have control over demons but other demons? But he patiently explained through his parables and his example that this could not be the case. And he said, Satan cannot be against himself, or he will surely fail. Now remember, when Jesus spoke and when the gospel writers wrote these gospel passages, often the teaching in the parables would take on more than one meaning, and perhaps a more in-depth of meaning. And I think that's the case here too. I think he's also giving us a message about ourselves and our relationship with each other, and how to overcome difficulty with patience and gentleness and kindness. He could have been angry with them, but instead he was patient in his teaching. With that in mind, let's get to the history part and see how that fits. I want to speak about St. Francis de Sales, whose feast day was the 24th, today or yesterday, depending upon when this gets shown, and also Abraham Lincoln. I bet you have a look on your face saying, "What?" I don't understand. And you probably are a little bit confused as to why I combined the two, but give me a moment and I'll explain. You see, both men had to overcome great difficulty, but they did it with kindness and gentleness and patience. St. Francis de Sales was born in 1567 and he died in 1622. And these were tremendous times of division in the church because of the Protestant Reformation. And St. Francis committed himself to deal with these divisions at great personal peril. He put himself in great danger. But he did it with his gentle approach with people that changed them and brought them back into the fold of the church. There is much to be said about his life, and I do encourage you to read about him. But for today, I want to just say his life centered around Geneva, Switzerland, where he went through the countryside for 3 years, trudging through the mountains and the snow and the heat and the mud to bring people back to the Catholic faith, one by one, to heal the division that threatened and divided the Catholic Church. He's credited with bringing 40,000 people back to Catholicism with those doorstep to doorway, one step at a time effort that he made. Now, Abraham Lincoln. On June 16, 1858, a fairly unknown Abraham Lincoln was running for the Senate seat against Stephen Douglas. His acceptance speech for that nomination was at the convention in Springfield, Illinois. Lincoln lost that election, but his speech that day gained him national attention. That was the speech that is now called the House Divided speech, where he noted that our country could not continue divided between slave and non-slave states. It had to be one or the other. And we all know what his position was. Does this speech sound familiar? Where did we hear that from? Of course, we heard it from today's gospel. Lincoln used this scripture passage to show that our nation could not hope to survive if divided amongst itself over such a critical issue. We all know he suffered a great deal through those war years, but he did it with patience and kindness and gentleness and compassion. So, what am I getting at? We see division in our society every day, don't we? I'm not sure if it's more than in the past or less, I don't know, but it's there. And we see it not just on the world stage or even the national stage, but we see it in our own towns, our own homes, our own families, and even in our church. I believe the other message in today's gospel is to be able to overcome these things that divide us and seek ways to heal those divisions and work toward unity. I'm not saying that we can't have different opinions, far from it. We know that we have to, and it's good to have different opinions. But how we manage it will decide if we succeed or if we fail. What we do in a positive manner can go a long way to heal the problems that we see in our lives today. I know that you may say, Deacon, you're a bit of an idealist. Perhaps I am, but I'm okay with that. Or you can say it's not practical to think that people react to this type of unity effort. They just won't do it. Well, I guess that it was true of how people felt when Jesus came on the scene, or when St. Francis walked through the countryside near Geneva, where he almost died each and every day, or when President Lincoln worked to reunite the Union. So, I think I will try, and I hope you will too, for your country, for your family, and for your church. There are two quotes from St. Francis that I'd like to share with you today and end with. The first is this: "It is wonderful how attractive a gentle, pleasant manner is, and how much it wins hearts." Second is, "There is nothing which edifies others so much as charity and kindness, by which, as by the oil in our lamp, the flame of good example is kept alive." St. Francis de Sales. Perhaps that's also good advice for me, and it's good advice for you. So make the effort, and God bless.